Hello Food fans and welcome to my review of Doctor Who Season 9 Episode 3, Under the Lake. Now, in the opening scene of this episode, to be honest, I didn't think too much of it. It set up the story, it did its job, but it wasn't a bang opening thing, getting straight in there. It was just a bit, it was okay, but it wasn't like the opening scene in The Wizard's Apprentice, so it was okay. And in this scene we get introduced to the ghosts. I like the look of the ghosts, especially the sort of Victorian looking one, but they look pretty good. Are they my favourite? No, they're never going to beat Daleks. No one's going to beat the Daleks, but they look good. But then during the opening scene, as they find this spaceship and they open it up, the captain at the time was like all anti-alien. It's like, is it a military vehicle that they lost, and who would lose military vehicle? And they basically get into it's alien, but then he's like, oh, don't let it be aliens. Now originally I was thinking, well, this is set in the future, and later on in the episode it's one of the characters fangirls over the Doctor, so they know about aliens, so that doesn't make sense. But the more I thought about it, the more I could think, maybe if it's aliens there's a lot of paperwork involved and there's a lot of hassle and that sort of thing. Sure, it's a subtle thing, but I could see that sort of angle, that they know aliens exist, but then they've got to notify the United Nations and all that stuff, and then go through all the paperwork and sort of thing, because it wasn't oh no, don't let it be aliens, or don't be stupid, it's not aliens because aliens don't exist sort of thing. It was just like, oh, don't let it be aliens. So I could see that, but it took a little bit of thinking about to come to that conclusion. It wasn't clear, so it was very subtle, so I think I like it, because on my previous season of Doctor Who, all my reviews were pretty much, hey, give us more subtlety, don't spell everything out for us. This is the sort of thing I'm talking about. I can think about it in different levels, and I like it. It's not in your face, so well done. And then after the credits roll, the Doctor and Clara land, and Clara's like, oh, let's go on an adventure, I want aliens, and I want to save the planet, I know you do too, sort of thing. And yeah, okay. It can be twisted in other directions. When I first watched this episode, I'd only just woken up, so I was a bit groggy, and when she said that, I was like, yeah, you want people to be in danger just so you can save their lives. How messed up is that? But the more I thought about it, the more I was like, yeah, I suppose maybe they shouldn't have put in save planets line, and they just said, let's go see some aliens and see other worlds, sort of, and explore, and if there's chaos then there's chaos, because that seems to be the way the Doctor works. He does love the chaos, but it's one of those things you don't say you love the chaos, because that's messed up, because you're putting people's lives in danger, sort of thing. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought, yeah, okay, maybe I'm overthinking that a little bit, and I'll let them off. I would have cut that line, but okay. But then as it moves along and they realise, hey, this place is in danger, then Clara tries to give the Doctor a high five. And I love the way the Doctor just looked at her and then just like walked away. I was like, that is brilliant. If the Doctor doesn't hug, why the hell would he high five? And then the Doctor gets introduced to the crew after the ghosts have attacked them. And then he gets introduced to the deaf crew member, and the Doctor's like, oh, it's fine, I can sign, and then he can't sign. Well, it was a good comedic moment, it was amusing, but the Doctor should be able to sign because the TARDIS should translate it. But then moving forward quite a bit, I was starting to think, oh great, they've added a character purely to silence the people that are like, oh, we need more variety in our cast, so hey, here's a deaf person. But then they actually used her deafness in the story, which I like. I personally don't like it when they add someone like that just to add someone like that, because really that's just to appease whingers. Yes, I do believe there should be more variety in TV shows, but you write characters to fill that role. You don't just say, hey, here's a deaf person in a place where a regular person could be just because she's deaf. You write it into the script. And when she read the lips of the ghosts, so she used her deafness as part of the story, and I actually really like that, and that gave her deafness a point. So well done for doing that. If that was just put in because they wanted a deaf person, okay, but the point is they actually did it and I like it. But then moving backwards a bit, we're introduced to the character who is basically only got one level. I'm rich, so I'm a dick. We've had lots of these characters in the past, and I was half expecting him to survive till the end because he's rich, he's a dick, and the whole message where you can't choose who you save is drummed in again. Just like in Voyage of the Damned, the episode where they were on the Titanic. But this time, he actually dies. And I think that was a good move because it mixed it up a little bit. And of course, if the way he was, if he was to stay in both episodes, he would be a major part that would be pointed down. So that's good. And I also like the fact it was his own greed that killed him. That's just added another level to it, and well done. Okay, next, I like the bit in the, I want to call it the command room. Whether it's the command room or not, I don't know, but that's what I'm going to call it, where the map was. And the Doctor comes to the conclusion that yes, these are in fact ghosts. Considering the whole episode up to this point was there's no such thing as ghosts, there's no such thing as ghosts, and then he thinks about it and says they're ghosts. And when I said, wait a minute, you said there was no such thing, and he's like, yeah, but there was no such thing as, and a big list of things that were invented. And then how he goes on about how amazing it is, and it's pointed out that these were their friends that have died. And then Clara pulls out some cards and flips through them to give him one to help him in his situation. I actually like that because the point of the assistant is to add the human side to the Doctor, is to tell him when things are appropriate and when things aren't appropriate, so he doesn't go overboard. And I think the cue cards were a nice touch. I wouldn't use them every episode. That was nice as a one-off gag, but it was nice. And then as it moves on, the Doctor and Clara start hearing the cloister bell from the TARDIS, and I really like the fact they called it the cloister bell because they've used it in the new series, but I don't actually think they've called it the cloister bell. Maybe they have, but that being said, bringing people back from the dead, I could understand why the TARDIS wouldn't like that. But considering it's not actually ghosts, they're sort of used as beacons, and it's a small form of technology, we can only assume that are doing this, and I'm assuming as soon as that technology is finished with, then the TARDIS will go back to normal. So that sort of thing is like, why would the TARDIS freak out about that? But it got them back onto the TARDIS. And my point of bringing that up was then we had the scene where the Doctor says to Clara to tone it down, and that there's only room for one Doctor, meaning the eccentric one that wants to go on adventures and save planets and things such as that. And Clara's like, I'm fine. And he's like, well, maybe you should get a hobby, maybe you should get another boyfriend. And what I have to say is this is probably the best performance I have ever seen from Jenna Coleman. And this scene where her face just drops and you can see that she's fighting the urge to break down, you can see it in her eyes, and I really thought it was very powerful. And it just proves that the problem with Clara isn't Jenna Coleman, it's the way she's written, and I give her all the credit in the world for that scene. I think it was brilliant, so full props for that performance. So moving on, they decide to make a trap for the ghosts, and the Doctor was in his little control room giving out all the orders. And looking at it, I definitely got a bit of a flashback to Dalek. You have Christopher Eccleston episode with the return of the Daleks for the first time, and when Christopher Eccleston was in the control room giving the orders, and I thought it was a nice flashback. Whether or not that was intended or not, I'm not convinced, but it did remind me of that episode. But then comes the scene where the Doctor uses the sunglasses to use them as a camera so the deaf girl can read the lips of the ghosts. Now, this is the second episode being used. We're halfway through the episode. I thought it was good that they didn't use them or the sonic screwdriver, because a lot of the stories he seemed to rely on it far too much. But now they've used the glasses for the only thing I can possibly think of using the glasses in a decent way is we're using it as a camera so they can see the lips, and okay, that works, but that's it. If he was to use the glasses to say open the crypt or use it to open doors, or it'd just be stupid and silly. Give him a screwdriver. As I say, I think not having a screwdriver for a couple more episodes is a good idea, so then we could have little calm down time so he doesn't overuse it, and then give him a screwdriver back so then he can get through doors and the annoying bits. And the sonic glasses, no. And going along after they've trapped the ghosts, they're all like, well, we've trapped the ghosts so we can leave now. And then the Doctor persuades them in a reverse psychology sort of way to stay, and I thought it was really clever writing, so props on the writer for that one. I will give the writing props when they deserve it, and that was one of them. I liked it. But then we have finally the last shot of the episode after the Doctor runs off with the TARDIS to go back in time, which he can't do considering the TARDIS is freaking out because of the ghosts. And so the Doctor decides, I know what, I'm going to break another law of time and go back in the timeline, because remember, as Christopher Eccleston told us, as soon as the TARDIS lands, it becomes part of events, so he can't travel backwards and forwards in those time of events. So he can't go back in time and fix it, because it's a paradox, it doesn't work. But that's what he's gonna do. And after that, it's revealed that there is another ghost outside, and it's the Doctor! Yeah, I know they have to put everyone into jeopardy to make a cliffhanger, and it's a problem when the Doctor or Clara is in that, because it's obvious they're going to escape, but they're the only ones we really care about, supposedly. So it's got to be them two. So I understand putting the Doctor in jeopardy as the cliffhanger. It was just a bit bleh. I have a suspicion that it's going to be the same as the last cliffhanger in the last episode, where this is the cliffhanger of this episode and it will be the end of the next episode where we find out why. Looking at the next time trailer, it looks like they go back in the past but still can communicate with the future, and I believe that Clara tells him, your ghost is here, so he knows he's going to die. That's why he's all like, I'm going to die, and it's the same as the last episode where it's like, I'm going to die, and he doesn't die, which clearly is not going to happen because we need Doctor Who. My prediction is the Doctor goes through the episode going, oh, I'm going to die, I'm going to die, oh, I'm going to die, oh, I'm going to die. And then at the end it's realised that yes, he turns into a ghost. No, he's not dead. He's just using himself as a transmitter to say to the aliens that are coming, hey, it's cool, you don't have to come, it's cool, stay away, no. So they don't come in and invade the planet, and that will be the solution. That's my prediction. But of course he probably has to go into the future as a ghost sort of thing to do it, so it's not too much of a paradox. Still a paradox. I noticed a theme in this season already, but yeah, it'd probably be okay. We'll see. We'll have to wait until the next episode to fully judge it, but looking at this episode alone, I like it. As per usual, it has its problems, but it's a good episode. I'm pleasantly surprised because I didn't see this coming looking at the next time trailer last week. I thought it was going to be quite a blur episode, but this one was quite good. But again, this episode could be ruined by the next one, but let's watch that before we judge it completely. As for that, I have noticed, because this is a two-parter, I decided to look ahead at other episodes and noticed that it looks like the entire season is made up of two-parters. So it's one two-parter after another. Now, I'm actually okay with this, because it seemed like the way they were doing it during the end of the Matt Smith's run, where it was 6 episodes, then they go on hiatus and then give you the next 6 episodes, really, I always felt ripped off on that, because really what it was is it was 2 6-episode seasons, not one 12-episode season. It was just a way of trying to not give us as much, I feel, and I didn't like it. I felt kinda, nah, if I was in England, I'd be paying a TV license, and the only thing the TV license goes to is the BBC, and the BBC are what makes Doctor Who, and it's pretty much the only thing I like, that and a couple of the panel shows on BBC. And I mean a couple, I'm thinking possibly Nevermind the Buzzcocks, and coming to think oh, QI, but that's about it. So that's a hell of a lot of money for one show, because the other 2 I could do without. I would miss them, but yeah, okay, only Doctor Who is what I love on the BBC, so I would feel completely ripped off and having like 6 episodes for the whole year, and I don't like it. So I guess this is a compromise, so they have 6 stories and they can extend them, because another problem Doctor Who has is some episodes you've got 45 minutes to learn about these characters, like them and feel about them how they want you to feel about them, and then come to a resolution with those characters by the end of the episode. And that's very, very difficult, because films struggle with this with like 2-hour-long scripts, but Doctor Who does it in 45 minutes. So making 2-parters I think is good. Occasionally bits in the middle can drag along, but I think it is okay. So I think this is a good compromise, so we get our 12 episode long season, but then the writers and the producers only have to work on 6 individual stories. They have to put a bit more work into them because they've got to fill out more time, but I can see that a production on 6 longer stories would be easier than 12 separate ones. So I think it works, and I also think it gives a nice little nod to the classic Who, where it was like, I don't think I've ever seen a single episode story in there. The closest I can think of is a 2-episode long story. Most of them went 3 episodes minimum, but it was good. So I like that this is kind of like a little taste of the old school Doctor Who, and I personally would be okay with keeping it going. Maybe a couple of stories can be shut down to a single episode, because I'm not completely convinced that this one would. I'd have to see the second part, as I said before. I think this episode could work as a single 1 episode, but then of course you've got to fill in the next episode as well, so I can understand why I'd extend it a little bit, but we'll wait and see. But I like this episode. Tell me what you think in the comments below, and if you've liked this review, please like, favourite and subscribe it. I am the Fud. Thanks for listening.